Listen, there is a pattern hidden inside the lives of the greatest men in recorded history. Not a strategy, not a philosophy, not a productivity system, a practice. One specific practice that appears documented, confirmed, described in their own words, across civilizations, centuries, and cultures. Men who never met each other. Men who lived thousands of years apart. Men who built in completely different domains, all practicing the same thing. And almost none of the modern conversations about success, achievement, or masculine development ever mention it. Today, that changes. Let us start with a man you know, Nikola Tesla, one of the most prolific inventors in human history. 300 patents, the alternating current system, the foundation of modern electricity. A man whose ideas were so far ahead of their time that some of his work is still being studied and understood today. Tesla never married, not because he was unable to attract women. By all historical accounts, he was a charming and compelling presence who received significant romantic interest throughout his life. He chose not to pursue it. In his own journals, he documented why. He had noticed something through personal observation that he could not explain rationally at first. On the days following certain physical activities, his mental clarity was reduced, his creative output was lower, his ability to concentrate on complex problems was diminished. On the days following deliberate restraint, the opposite was true. Ideas arrived with a speed and completeness that felt almost involuntary. Solutions presented themselves before he had consciously worked through the problem. His focus, in his own words, was electrical in its intensity. He tested this observation repeatedly. The results were consistent. He eventually stopped questioning why it worked and simply committed to the practice that produced the results. He called it the conservation of the vital creative force. He was not speaking metaphorically. Tesla was a scientist. He documented what he observed. And what he observed, across decades of deliberate practice, was that the conservation of male vital energy produced extraordinary creative and intellectual output. 300 patents, the modern electrical grid, a scientific legacy that outlasted him by a century, built on the force most men waste without ever knowing what they are losing. Now, Napoleon Hill. You know Think and Grow Rich, published in 1937, one of the best-selling books in the history of personal development, studied by millions of men. But most men who have read Think and Grow Rich have not read all of it, because the chapter that Hill himself called the most important chapter in the entire book was quietly edited out of many modern editions. The chapter was titled The Mystery of Transmutation. In it, Hill documented something he had observed across 500 of the most successful men in America, men he spent 20 years studying and interviewing for the research behind the book. He wrote, and I am paraphrasing carefully here, that without exception, every man of great achievement he had studied possessed what he called an unusually high degree of creative vital energy, not the depletion of that energy, the conservation and redirection of it. He documented that the men who built the greatest fortunes, led the most significant movements, and produced the most prolific creative output were men who had consciously redirected their vital life force away from physical depletion and toward their work, their vision, and their mission. He called this transmutation, the conversion of one form of energy into another. The vital creative force, the most powerful biological energy available to a man, converted into creative output, leadership presence, and financial genius. Hill did not invent this concept. He documented it from the lives of 500 men who had already proven it worked. But this understanding did not begin with Tesla or Hill. It goes back further than either of them, much further. In ancient Greece, the athletes who competed in the Olympic Games were required to practice strict conservation of vital energy in the weeks leading up to competition. Their trainers understood through observation rather than biochemistry, that the conserved man performed at a level the depleted man could not match. The ancient Greek word for this practice translates roughly as the cultivation of inner strength. They were not being puritanical, they were being strategic. In ancient India, the Brahmacharya tradition documented the conservation of vital male energy as the foundation of all spiritual, creative, and intellectual achievement. The texts described this energy, called ojas, as the refined essence of the body's vital force. They documented that, when conserved and redirected, it produced extraordinary mental clarity, physical vitality, and what they called a magnetic field of influence that drew others naturally. In ancient China, Taoist masters developed entire systems for the conservation and circulation of what they called Jing, the foundational vital essence. They documented the microcosmic orbit, a specific practice for moving conserved energy through the body, rather than allowing it to stagnate, and observed that the men who mastered this practice lived longer, thought more clearly, and built more significant legacies than those who did not. These were not primitive beliefs. These were observations, carefully documented across centuries, about what happens to a man when he stops wasting his most powerful resource and starts conserving and directing it. The observations were consistent, across cultures that had no contact with each other, across centuries separated by entire civilizations, across domains as different as athletics, philosophy, warfare, and spiritual development. The conserved man outperforms the depleted man, every time, in every domain, under every set of conditions. Now, why does this work? The modern understanding gives us a mechanism the ancients did not have language for. Male vital energy, when conserved rather than depleted, does not simply remain stored. It converts. The biological systems that produce this energy do not have an off switch. The production continues, regardless of what the man does with it. When depletion is the pattern, the body produces, loses, recovers, produces again. The man is constantly in a cycle of depletion and partial recovery. He never builds past a baseline. When conservation is the practice, the energy that would have been lost has nowhere to go but up. It converts into neurological resources, into the specific neurotransmitters and hormones that produce mental clarity, sustained focus, physical vitality, and what researchers now describe as a heightened quality of presence, the quality others perceive in a man and instinctively respond to as leadership. The ancients called it ojas, jing, or vital creative force. Modern science calls it the hormonal and neurological profile of the man who conserves. The names are different. The observation is identical. The conserved man carries something. The depleted man does not. Here is what this looks like in practical terms. The depleted man moves through his day in a specific internal state, a slight flatness, a low-grade lack of drive, a motivation that requires external stimulation, caffeine, social media, music, to reach a level that feels adequate. This is not weakness. This is biology. The body's resources are directed toward recovery rather than performance. The man is technically functioning, but energetically behind. The conserved man operates in a different state, a pressure, an alertness, a readiness that does not require external stimulation because the internal reserves are full rather than depleted. This is also biology. The same biology that Tesla documented in his journals. The same biology that Hill observed across 500 men. The same biology that Greek trainers noticed in their athletes. The same biology that Taoist masters built entire systems around. Available to any man who understands it and chooses to use it. The men watching this video right now are not being asked to make a religious decision. This is not a moral position. This is a performance decision. The question is simple. Do you want to operate from a full reservoir or an empty one? Do you want to move through your day with the internal resources of a man who has been building his energy for weeks, or the internal resources of a man who depleted them this morning? Do you want to carry the quality of presence that Tesla, Hill, and every great builder in recorded history understood, or continue without it? The answer to those questions determines the action. If what I just shared resonates with you, the Foundation membership is where this goes deeper. 6 complete systems built around this one force that most men waste every day. The Discipline Foundation System, the Energy Mastery Basics, the Focus and Presence Protocol, the Purpose Discovery Framework, the Morning Power Rituals, and the system that connects all 5, the Advanced Energy Redirection System. The link is in the description. Founding member spots are limited. If you are serious about this, the link is below. Now, go execute.